publication devoted to energy and climate, and it's and because we are to talk warm up. That was a
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome from Cambridge Innovation Center in Warsaw. My name is Artur Kuczmowski. I'm a president of the Polish-Estonian Chamber of Commerce. Matching and developing business relations between Poland and Estonia are the main priorities of our chamber. What we do is building the bridges between Polish and Estonian entrepreneurs. Today, we host a very special event. We're building the green bridge between our countries. We would like to open the discussion about the changes and the new trends in the energy sector. Personally, I'm a big fan of our Mother Earth, and I strongly believe that Poland and Estonia together have a big opportunity to become leaders in the green transformation. Our chamber was officially opened in October 2020 and inaugurated by Polish President Andrzej Duda during his 3C summit in Tallinn. Today, we have the privilege to host Madam President in Warsaw on an official visit. I'm really proud to invite you for a presidential panel discussion about the green transformation moderated by Wojciech Jakubik. Wojciech, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to host this extraordinary event with our both presidents, with Madam President of Estonia, Kersti Kaljulaid. It's great to have you here, and Mr. President of Poland, Andrzej Duda. We need to discuss European Green Deal, the energy and climate policy, and the opportunities of our cooperation in those spheres. So first, let me ask Madam President of Estonia about the general opinion on cooperation between Poland and Estonia, especially in the context of energy and climate. What's your view?
Thank you for this question. And I have to respond that we politicians, we serve our people and we serve our businesses because they also are our people. And as I'm talking here today, Estonian company Sunly has many contracts here in Poland to build solar parks, thanks to the wonderful auction system of Poland, which has not been restrictive, which has not been limiting, but enabling also for our companies. Also, in Estonia, because of the exorbitant Russian gas prices, gas was priced out of the market by wood in cogeneration, heating and electricity generation long ago. And right now, when we are speaking here, Estonian offer is on table in the city government of Šešću to invest 40 million into replacing coal with wood. That is, while we are talking transfer to green, smart connectivity in the 3Cs context, there is Estonian company Ivy who is gathering data from the roads to make sure that the information is always available, where the roads need to be repaired, etc. So you have several examples already where Estonia is working with Poland. And for me, the flagship of this cooperation actually is the University of Poznan cooperation with Estonian company Timbeter, Their aspiration is to work with the Polish wood authority to make sure that the fate of the wood gathered from Polish woods would be transparent, visible, and that the use of the wood will be the most economical and the most environmentally friendly. So you see, as a politician, I cannot say that I am really in some way leading my nation. I would say I've been dragged into this by our own businesses.
And our green bridge is already in construction.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam President. And I will switch to Mr. President Andrzej Duda to ask him about this context of wider cooperation inside the European Union, inside TRISIS initiative, which is promoted both by Estonia and Poland. Mr. President.
Przede wszystkim trzeba powiedzieć, że
First and foremost, one has to say that the challenge of climate protection in general and also lowering of CO2 emissions to the atmosphere, those emissions are generated quite obviously by industrial activity, is a challenge we have been facing for a long time, not today, not yesterday. This challenge has started for us. Actually, it started in the 1990s when we left the Iron Curtain and when we became part of the Western world, also in the political sense. I want to stress very strongly that we have always been culturally part of the Western world. However, we were not by our fault behind the Iron Curtain, both ourselves as well as the nation of Estonia. And because of that, we were not fully free, we were not fully sovereign, we were not fully independent. So that also had exerted a large impact upon our economy. Today we say that we generate more than 70% of electricity from coal. However, it was not only our own decision. The Polish industry was set up in this way back in the times when we were, let's call that the influence of the Soviet Union. We were not part of the Soviet Union, that is true, as it was the case with Estonia, which was the Soviet Republic. Nevertheless, we were under the Russian protectorate, and the decisions were made in Moscow. And today, this presents a huge problem for us indeed, because we want to face up to all the challenges concerning the protection of the environment, both us as our Estonian friends, but also the entire Central and Eastern Europe, this part which belongs to the European Union right now. Being part of the European Union, this part of Europe also takes upon itself obligations to lower the emissions and to protect the climate. Nevertheless, this means a huge transition mission, a transformative mission. And let me just remind you that we are signatories of the Kyoto Protocol. Let me remind you that we have fully met the obligations arising under the Kyoto Protocol. Back in the 1990s, we limited the emissions by almost 29%. That is a huge share in Poland. And today we are still working on this. But the challenge is gigantic, and the industrial change that we have to implement in our country is huge. We can see an exorbitant increase, especially recently, in the share of renewable energies that we are producing in Poland. It has increased by almost 200% over the last 2 years. Nevertheless, it is still a huge goal which we have to attain. We're planning to get more than 30% of the generally produced energy in Poland by 2030 to generate it from renewable sources. By 2040, more than 40% is our goal. But still, the challenge is huge, also because we have to transform our energy sector by ensuring its stable electricity supplies, and this presents the biggest problem. Given into account the technology storage of electricity, because of that we need to plan this process well and carefully, and this is what we are working on all the time. We need a transition period. Over that transition period, we are going to step by step attain climate neutrality. This is the neutrality which makes sure that the level of emission is absorbed. The absorption rate equals the emission rate. This is a huge task in front of us, but as I said, every single day we are working on increasing the absorption as much as possible and to lower the emissions as much as possible. We are conducting a lot of activities to that goal, also in connection with Estonia. In September last year, we signed together a letter of intent on creating wind farms on the Baltic Sea, so that the renewable energy can be generated there with minimum losses for our people, and so that it can feed our energy grids. That's to start with. Mr. President, can I ask you about the context of the Three Seas initiative, because both Poland and Estonia are part of it. Also, in the energy sector and the climate sector, this opens up some perspectives. So, Mr. President, what's your comment? First of all, I need to stress very strongly that all the countries of the Three Seas who are members of the Three Seas, because there are a couple of categories of participation in the Three Seas, but the countries which participate in the Three Seas initiative, that is 12 countries, all of them are members of the European Union. By the same token, these countries are meeting all their European obligations, and also those concerning the limitation of CO2 emissions, in climate protection obligations, all that is fulfilled by us. To all of us, this is a very important goal indeed. But one thing that I need to highlight very strongly, all of these countries are in a similar position looking from the historical perspective. So practically all of them, apart from Austria, are countries which were once behind the Iron Curtain, and all of them are grappling with similar problems. Some of them, that is true, have got nuclear energy in place already, but this energy, which is produced from nuclear power plants, which are built according to Soviet technologies, and all of these countries either want to change the technology or to modernize it so that it is 100% safe. And we know that looking at the catastrophe, nuclear disaster in Chernobyl in 1986, so we can see that these technologies are also a great social concern. Having said that, we have joined our forces, and today, when saying that we want to slowly but surely achieve climate neutrality through increased use energy from gas instead of energy from coal. Energy from gas is much more climate friendly, although it does not fully meet the obligations of the climate policy. We are saying that that is why we need the transition period, and we want to mutually ensure energy security to each other. That is why right now interconnectors are being built in our part of Europe. That is why we are also building alternative energy supplies. That is why we are signing agreements right now, and that is also why we are conducting a lot of investments in the Three Seas area. So speaking about Green Bridge, we are also building it in the energy and in climate policy on the European scale.
Madam President, about this context of energy connectivity, of energy transition in the context of Three Seas and of course Poland and Lithuania and Estonian cooperation.
Indeed, there are many layers of cooperation. There is the synchronization of the Baltic grid through Poland to the Central European grid, which is a project which is one of the flagships, I would say, of the Connecting Europe Facility energy part, because it is going right on time and exactly according to our plan. Then there is the Three Seas initiative and the European background to all this. We believe together here that we should leave space for the private sector investment as well in this green transition. And I found common ground with President Duda and other people here in Poland who all say that indeed interconnections, interconnectivity, this is what we need to do. And we see that we also try to involve, for example, private-public partnership through the Three Seas funds, but not only. Also when we are talking EU funds, there is also the private component to it. And all things put together, we clearly can see that we have an opportunity to save this planet, which we all love. But there is a catch, which we haven't been able to resolve and for which we need to still put in more effort together with President Duda and all the others who want to protect the European green bubble. Because right now, there is no border levy for importing ungreen electricity into the European energy network. It's not currently a problem when we are talking about gas or oil imports, because it needs to be burned here and then the CO2 treatment is exactly the same. But it is different for industrial products and starting from electricity generation. So for us, it is extremely important that the European Union moves quickly and seals our green bubble so that the air cannot leak from it. because otherwise, how on earth can we guarantee return on the investment for the investors who are investing into green energy in Europe if somebody is able to come in from the sources which are not clean, in addition to sometimes there are safety issues, which President Duda mentioned. So I think this is our common obligation towards Estonian and Polish societies and the whole European green transition to make this European green bubble really work. And we are the richest and biggest economy globally, the European Union market. So if we cannot do it, nobody can. If we can do, our planet is saved, because the others will then already be adapters of the technology. But there is one more good thing. The first ones always win and the last ones always pay. So we'd rather move quickly in Europe.
Okay, so what to do to move quickly?
As I said, first of all, close the green bubble, make it airtight. And then also we see that, for example, European Investment Bank has been adamant that no investment anymore into the non-dirty technologies. We should remain true to our word. And if we accept that, gas is better than coal, we should still also accept that gas is a CO2 emitting fuel. It's not a clean fuel, it's cleaner fuel. But even if we accept it for intermittent needs, we should also give an end date. And the end date has been decided, it's 2050. So, we should not in any way, shake this belief of the private sector and the banks and financial institutions that we mean it. If they don't believe it, it will not happen.
Thank you very much. And I'll switch to Polish once again. Panie prezydencie, jakie jest...
Mr. President, what is your take on this subject, also in the context of the perspectives of private businesses, both from Poland and Estonia, who can build together our green bridge? My assessment is very similar to what has just been said by Madam President. She very aptly described the situation. This is a hugely complex issue, also from the perspective of competitiveness, which all of us care very much about. We want the European Union, being also the production and industrial area, we want the European Union to be competitive, globally competitive. And what we need here, first of all, we need to defend European interests. And however, on the other hand, in this context, we also need to strike the right balance so that the protection of climate is ensured as much as it is possible. And this is a very complex process. But what Madam President has just said is of fundamental importance. If we are supposed to do it in a responsible way, also taking into account all the costs that we'll have to bear, then we have to close the so-called green bubble, European green bubble. That means that we need to have this energy produced in a controlled way, responsible way, with sticking to all the norms and principles. What does that mean? That means that we have to do everything we can not to allow into our energy system such an energy which is produced outside of the European Union, which very often comes from unknown sources and which very often can come from sources which have nothing to do with any principles of limiting emissions and protection of the climate. It's going to be much cheaper energy than the one which is produced in Europe. And using that energy by the EU countries would support foreign industries, as a matter of fact, which do not support the protection of climate, and it would be anti-European, as a matter of fact. That is why the first thing we need to do, not to mention that it would also be anti-environmental, anti-climate. So the first thing we need to do is creating a system where it would not be possible to let in any electricity produced outside of the European Union. And what we need to do is to make the system as efficient as possible, as economically viable as possible, well functioning as possible. But first and foremost, the system has to protect the climate as much as possible. This is the first task, a very difficult one, but a whole transition is devoted to that goal. Now, answering your question, what to do to make it faster? Ladies and gentlemen, it all comes down to money. To a large extent, this is the question of money. What kind of money will we be able to allocate as the European Union, as its member states, in order to support innovation, in order to build innovative industry, in order to create new jobs in this industry, in order to give jobs to the people who will lose their jobs in the closed down sectors of, for example, energy industry. For instance, coal. We're speaking about extraction of coal. So we need to give new jobs to miners or those who potentially could work in coal mining industry in the future. We have to give them alternatives. We need to educate them adequately. We have to create jobs for them in modern and innovative industry. with new solutions. These are huge tasks, very costly tasks indeed. But that is what we discussed also during the climate conference organized by President Joe Biden more than 1 week ago. Yes. And this is the contemporary challenge facing not only Europe, but the whole world alike. There are experts, and there were such voices during that conference saying that perhaps right now we are at a stage which would be similar to the Industrial Revolution in the past. We are like on the verge of producing a steam engine. So perhaps this is a new era of an Industrial Revolution which is starting right now as we speak. And today we have to respond to this challenge, and we have to treat it as if this new era was really about to start. We cannot be left behind. We cannot stay behind. We have to go on, go forward. This is the biggest challenge in front of us. But let me reiterate, it's going to cost a lot effort, a lot of determination, but we want to do it. Let me ask you one more thing, Mr. President. The 3Cs Fund. This is an important element of the initiative, which can also contribute to new projects, energy projects and climate projects established in Poland, in Estonia, and in the European Union. Yes, this 3Cs Fund is growing. More and more countries are joining the fund. And of course, I'm very pleased with that. And investment plans of the 3Cs are very broad and very wide because we are talking about broadly understood infrastructure. 3Cs is the idea to develop infrastructure along the north-south axis, starting from the Baltic Sea, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, going all the way down towards the Black Sea on the one hand and the Adriatic Sea on the other hand. And we wanted to establish as many connections as possible, transportation connections, energy connections, digital connections. So a whole bunch of modern possibilities of technology conducive to doing business, transportation, conducive to the movement of tourists, and conducive to all other goals. Connectivity, of course. So this means there are a lot of goals, a lot of objectives, but also there is the energy objective, ensuring security, ensuring the possibility for us to develop. So there are going to be a lot of goals to attain. And indeed, the 3Cs Fund is supporting this development, also the energy development among the 3Cs countries. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Connectivity, which was the Estonian input into 3Cs initiative, especially during the 3Cs initiative summit, which you were hosting. What are the fruits of this summit and plans for future cooperation?
Well, indeed, if you think of infrastructure investment, which is the main goal of the 3Cs initiative to unleash the potential of the whole region of 100 million people living in the most dynamic economic region of Europe, then you think railways, you think energy grids, you think roads, but nowadays they all have to be smart. For example, Estonian electricity grid is totally smart. Each and every metering post functions in a way which allows companies to build applications in order to automatically start, for example, rewarding people for not using energy at the peak times. You can cut 25% of your production capacity you need in a system off if you are smart in not using electricity and energy. These kind of systems need to duplicate and replicate themselves in all 3Cs countries. So this is one example simply of smart connectivity. Another one definitely is the transport and logistics management systems, which should develop together with the roads and transport, that one day when we are giving up driving the cars, driving the lorries, driving the trains, that all these infrastructure elements would already be in place. And because we do not have old legacy systems in our countries, or they are not so good really, then we are really best placed in the whole Europe to invest quickly and reap the benefits equally quickly. I believe this is an opportunity for us, but I would also like to turn to the social element of this transition, because we as politicians have to recognize that 30 years ago, our countries were going through quick economic transition. Our old markets were lost, our old logistics chains were broken, everything was new. But the rapid transition at the relatively low income levels we were at that point means that people of middle income and lower income were paying quite a high price. Similarly, like in Western Europe, industrialization was mostly paid by the simple people who came from the fields into the urban spaces where, frankly speaking, it was not very nice to live in 1950s and early 60s. Only with productivity rise, we could see that the working class was also gaining. Well, that's why we are talking also about social Europe and just transition nowadays. And this is extremely important that we separate the two elements. One is the technological transition, and the other is that we have to take care that our people, neither those who work in the sector, nor those who would hopefully temporarily have to pay higher energy prices because of the green bubble, that they will be actually helped on a means-tested base so that they can feel secure and feel that this transition is not happening at their expense. This is equally important nowadays for me.
I'd like to ask one thing more about this interconnectivity, this aspect of imports into EU from external actors, because we have different energy projects coming from third countries, for example, in energy sphere, in gas sphere, and it is sometimes said that we should get all the gas we can get, all the energy we can get, so we will get plenty of those resources. How to answer this easy question, which is coming with really tough answer, I guess.
One thing is, but this is like really a temporary mean, and this is this border levy. Mm-hmm. We should establish as quickly as possible the border levy, but this is temporary. Mm-hmm. In general, you have to understand that 60% of the global economy is already somehow covered by one or another green pledge to become neutral 2050, 2060. And this means that now all economic regions, Europe as a common market, all other countries who have pledged, will somehow exercise market distortions, because from the market viewpoint, all these pledges are market distortions. And now this is not a national issue. This is not even a EU level issue. This is an issue which we need to discuss in G7, G20, OECD. How now to make sure that all these market distortions really make the change we need happen, but at the same time do not limit the trade and services trade capabilities between our different economic and greener bubbles. This is an issue where I believe that countries from Central and Eastern Europe need to be even more active than we are used to be on a global field, and not to be shy to step in and turn the attention of that all the countries of G7 and 20, for example. This is what we need to look into.
Panie prezydencie, chciałem zapytać w tym kontekście.
Mr. President, in this context, let me ask you about the Leaders' Summit dedicated to climate protection organized by US President Joe Biden. Did Central and Eastern Europe, countries such as Poland and Estonia, did they have this opportunity to bring a breath of fresh air to this discussion about climate protection? First of all, of course, they could speak from the standpoint of the countries who are in this historic relationship, which I mentioned in the beginning. That is to say, we are not countries who have been living in a market economy for dozens of years, an economy which could develop freely, economies which focus on the development of modern technologies where entrepreneurs have freedom of action. We did not have that situation. Until 1989, that was not possible in Poland. Therefore, as a matter of fact, we can fully tap into our Polish potential and the potential of cooperation with the broadly understood global partners that we have only beginning from 1989, 1990, which spans a little bit more than 30 years. We can ask a question, did we make a good use of that period? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Polish GDP grew by almost 900% over that period. That is a huge increase, and Poland has changed beyond recognition. I can say that this is our great success. Nevertheless, we are still catching up with the West. And because of that, we need a certain understanding that our processes are not as advanced as in other countries. As I said before, we're not making decisions ourselves how to shape our energy sector. And today we can say, yes, those countries whose whole energy sector is based on nuclear energy is in a better position, or they are in a better position than us. Those who have got nuclear power plants built according to safe technologies. Today, those countries are much closer to climate neutrality, that's for sure, than we are, whose energy sector is totally based on coal. Nevertheless, we want to be at the forefront and we want to keep working on this. Suffice it to say today that today we are in the vanguard in Europe. We are the European leaders in the production of electric buses. I'm speaking here about electric buses in the public communication, public means of transportation. We are producing these buses here in Poland, and they are sold all over Europe. They are sold all over the world. So we are active also in this respect. And the protection of climate, just as Madam President has just mentioned, has got many different phases, because we can speak also about transport. Transport is also accountable for a big share of emissions, of CO2 emissions and other emissions, which destroy our climate. And thanks to e-vehicles, the protection of climate increases. Of course, some skeptical voices might say, yes, but this electricity also has to be produced somehow so that it can be later on injected, so to speak, into that vehicle. This vehicle has got a huge battery, and because of that, the battery has to be disposed of somehow, and this also destroys the environment in a sense. Yes, of course, but this is much smaller, much smaller. Even today, when this car is moving around, and whether it is using diesel or any other petrol, this is number one, but work is also going on producing electricity from hydrogen. So this is a totally novel Polish technology, and a lot of experts are saying that this is the technology of the future, and also in Poland we are working on this aspect. So there are a lot of possibilities of modern innovative development. We are trying to tap into them. As a sum up, let me first ask you, Mr. President, can you list a couple of spheres where Poland and Estonia could work in energy and climate, Mr. President? Well, for sure, this is a cooperation on digital solutions which are conducive to climate protection. During our meeting, this point has not been made, but nevertheless, I would like to stress it very strongly, and this is what I said during the press conference. I thanked Madam President that this year, in autumn, Estonia will host a specially dedicated 3Cs summit dedicated to the development of digital technologies and the use of such technologies. Also, for purposes conducive to the production of green energy, good energy management. So this is important, but as I said, there is also an agreement on cooperation on the construction of wind farms, offshore farms. Both Estonia and Poland are littoral states. We are located at the Baltic Sea, and because of that, we have got also our area of the Baltic Sea. So we want to produce wind energy, because in many places there are excellent conditions to generate wind energy, which is the so-called renewable source of energy. So that means that we've got a number of opportunities to cooperate. They are really plentiful. We are decisive. We want to use them. And I'm very much convinced that the Polish-Estonian Chamber of Commerce is the place which is going to generate cooperation among entrepreneurs and generate new possibilities for development. That is why I'm delighted that last autumn, Madam President and myself inaugurated the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm very happy about that. I'm also very happy that the dynamics of this cooperation has allowed us today to invite Madam President to Warsaw and to take part in this meeting.
Madam President, what's your take on it?
Well, I was trying to think of a couple of things which stand out as the most important. And one is indeed to make sure that this legislative space of our Europe is permissive for development of green and new technologies. Second, that it is permissive for private sector involvement, so that we don't have to pay for everything out of our public pocket, but actually dedicate our public money to handling the side effects of such a transition for the society. And third, I really see that, we are side by side and hand in hand with Poland in this transition process because you have coal and we have oil shale. And while Estonia is more digitalized society, its energy production was totally reliant on oil shale, which is a type of a brown coal. So we can learn and work with each other in order to make sure that our people will benefit as quickly as possible and not suffer. I think this is the highest objective which a politician can set themselves. And we have set ourselves this objective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish our both countries the best luck. And Madam President, Mr. President, thank you very much for this deep conversation.
Bardzo dziękujemy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much.
And we move to our main host.
Thank you very much to both presidents for this inspiring debate. I'm really glad to hear that you, as a political leaders, share our passion to protect Mother Nature. Now, let's move on with our conference. The next panel, Baltic Goes Green, is empowered by Poland-Est. You might not know, but Poland-Est is a part of Orlen Lietuva group controlled by PKN Orlen. Poland-Est is a leader in fuel supply on Estonian market. And we're just getting back after the short break. And welcome back on stage at Cambridge Innovation Center in Warsaw with the second panel, Baltic Goes Green. On the stage with me, we have Armen Artwich, member of the management board of PKN Orlen, and Mr. Grzegorz Jóźwiak, director of alternative fuels at PKN Orlen as well. And online, we are having Hando Suter, from CEO of Enefit. Hello, Hando. How are you? Good.
I'm fine.
And Kalev Reilian from Elenger. Kalev, good to have you here in Warsaw. So let's start with our guest here in Warsaw. Many people recognize Orlen as one of the biggest energetic concern in region. Obviously, it's well known in Poland because of the fuel stations, and it's in Lithuania because of Możejki. But not many viewers from Estonia knows that Orlen has also strong presence in their country. Armen, can energy transition be a way to build international recognition of Orlen also in Estonia?
Well, first of all, let me thank you for this opportunity to exchange views on the future of energy sector in our region with our partners from Estonia, and congratulate you on this valuable event. Let me start by saying that PKN Orlen is a strong multi-energy concern which ensures the energy stability and security not only in Poland but also in the Baltic region. We have refinery, petrochemical and electric energy assets in Poland, Czech Republic and Lithuania. And thanks to the purchase of Możejki refinery in 2006 and the efficiency program which has been implemented in that refinery, we also are able to secure the stability of Baltic region energy market. Yes, indeed, it is not widely known that the Orlen Group has a strong presence also on the Estonian market. Although we do not have our own retail network there, 70% of gasoline sold in Estonia comes from the Możejki Orlen refinery. And I do regret that it is not, I guess, a widely known fact in Estonia. But we hope that it shall change in near future. Thank you.
Yes, of course, the most well-known companies are the companies which are retail companies in that sector for sure. But Hando, we have the same or maybe similar situation here with Enefit in Poland. I mean, not many people knows its Estonian roots. So do you have plans for expanding to the Polish markets with some new green projects?
Yeah, good afternoon once more from me, and it's my great honor to join you here on Green Bridge tonight, unfortunately virtually from Tallinn. First of all, maybe even my Orlen colleagues don't know that we used to have lots of cooperation with Orlens in the past, and I have visited myself Orlen headquarters also in Warsaw, and this was on the refining our fuels, which we also produced in Estonia, and also innovating on the newer forms of liquid fuels, so that this is about our common background. And indeed, we are working in a Polish market for more than 3 years already. Our start has been very good. We are extremely well welcomed in Poland, and we have a dedicated team working in Poland. We have been working developing mostly solar parks so far. We have today already operating parks, 20 of them more than 20 megawatts, and in a pipeline some 55 megawatts more, so that in a short we should have 75 megawatts of solar parks. And we are also operating with the customers, so that we are having today 1,200 customers, which are mostly industrial customers in Poland. Actually, we are having our biggest customer of the group in Poland, which is Orange, and which is actually consuming as much as 10% of Estonian yearly national consumption. So I can say that Poland is an important market for us. We can see great opportunities of developing the market, both on the energy sales, but most importantly also green power generation. And we are planning to develop around 200 of megawatts of more solar energy, plus around 75 megawatts of solar generation capacities in our customer sites, so that this comes more to the service energy service fields, and we can see that there is a high demand in Poland. And maybe last and not least, we have just signed a cooperation agreement with the Danish leader in offshore wind development, Ørsted Group, to develop in a Baltics offshore wind. And as we know that Ørsted together with Poland also big plans to develop offshore wind in Poland. So that I would say we have many things in common and a great future.
No, dear Kalev, Elenger, which you represent, operates in Estonia under the name Eesti Gas brand name. Under Elenger name, you are presented in Finland, Latvia, Lithuania. So I believe that the question is not if you are planning to expand to Poland, but under which brand you're going to expand in Poland.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dobry wieczór, panie I panowie. Very good question. We are actually right now expanding to Poland. So as we speak, we are in the process of registering a company in Poland and start to build a team. In renewables, we are leading in three sectors. We are the biggest trader and one of the biggest producer in the Baltics of biomethane. Many people do not know that in Estonia more than 30% of public transport is using biomethane, which is made either of human waste or agricultural waste, and is considered a very green fuel as such. We are also a big player in solar electricity, building solar plants in Estonia. And we are the leading company in the Finnish Gulf region and one of the biggest providers of LNG solutions and LNG bunkering solutions. LNG is, as of today, the greenest option for ships as a fuel. And we intend to bring all these capabilities also to the Polish market. So we are looking at the Polish market with great interest. It's one of the most interesting markets in Europe and in the world, one of the most vibrant and developing. As Madam President Kaljulaid and Mr. President Duda told also earlier, one of the challenges is how to transform from coal, and our company is very interested in participating in this transformation and seeing if we can help also with this transformation.
Thank you very much, Kalev. Grzegorz, Orlen is mainly known from their refining and retail business, and those two sectors for sure are not green. And we are here to build the green bridge between Poland and Estonia, and in general to speak about the green projects. So what are the main projects which Orlen already has in the region and in the green sector?
Thank you for this question. of course, green direction is very important for us. Last year we announced our strategy, and we show that carbon neutrality is very important for us, and we are going to achieve carbon neutrality in 2050. And we know that this direction is very big responsibility, but on the other hand, this is huge development opportunity for our region by implementation big investment projects, big green investment projects. So we're looking for renewables, and one of the biggest program which we would like to develop is production of green electricity from offshore production from Baltic Sea. Today we produced 0.5 gigawatts of renewables electricity in Poland, but till the 2030 we would like to produce more than 2.5 gigawatts. And one of the biggest projects in this area is building of offshore wind farm on Baltic Sea, which we are going to realize with our partner, Nordland partner, as a joint venture, and it will be capacity of 1.2 gigawatts. So this is the first green direction regarding the energy. And second very important direction is connected with hydrogen. We know that hydrogen can be, the direction with hydrogen can be realized with synergy with renewables electricity production. So it can stabilize the energy sector from the one hand, and hydrogen can be utilized as a zero emission fuel in transport, or like in our case, as a refinery business, we can utilize hydrogen as a decarbonization of our existing assets. So we believe that these two directions, renewables electricity production and hydrogen production, this is the main green direction project in PKN Orlen. Thank you.
Well, so hydrogen and general gas, it seems like we're getting into the Ellinger's garden. Kalev, except gas and LNG projects, so do you have some new interesting green initiatives in region? I don't know, biomethane maybe or something?
Yes, thank you for the question. As I briefly mentioned earlier, we are currently biggest trader in the Baltics of biomethane, and one of the biggest producers of biomethane. And biomethane is actually considered one of the greenest fuel available, because it reduces methane emission that would otherwise be either from human or agricultural waste. So that biomethane actually has a negative offset or negative effect on the greenhouse gas balance. And Estonia is one of the leading countries in the region of using biomethane in public transportation. And so we are looking at great interest of opportunities to expand the production of biomethane, trading of biomethane, and also the use of biomethane. And then the other areas, as I already briefly mentioned earlier, is using solar and wind power to produce electricity, where we are also active, and using LNG as a fuel, especially for shipping in the Baltic Sea, which would also greatly reduce the use of heavy fuel oils in shipping, and therefore make the Baltic Sea area much cleaner.
Thank you, Kalev. So, Hando, if I can ask you, Enefit is the largest producer of renewable energy in Estonia and in general in Baltic region, as you already mentioned. So you have 20 wind farms in Estonia and Lithuania and 39 solar farms in Estonia and Poland. So tell me, where are the keys to keep the leader position?
Yeah, as it was mentioned by our President Kaljulaid earlier, we are sharing our heritage. So Estonia was fully reliant on the fossil resource, oil shale, and energy, electricity generation as well. We have been doing a huge transition, and last year about half of our generation was from renewable sources. We are today a leader in onshore wind in all region. We are having our operations from Finland to Poland, and we have very big plans ahead. So that on onshore wind, we have many projects under construction at the moment. And also on the power purchase agreements and renewable energy direct sales, we are probably also leading the region. I think the success is the key is actually that you have to be patient. You have to do a lot of job, even if the wind is not in your favor. Sometimes there can be any fallbacks on the way. You can't give up, and so some projects what we are operating today or building today have a long preparations completed. For instance, our Baltic most developed offshore project, which we are developing today as a hybrid cross-Latvian border together with Ørsted, we have been working 10 years with this project. And today this is most advanced offshore wind project in the Baltics. And we never gave up. We have been moving ahead, and we hope that this project can be completed and operational by 2028. Together with Latvian side, it can be in a capacity up to 2 gigawatts and supply about half of Estonian and Latvian electricity consumption. It is a big thing. It's a big project, and of course, the key is professional preparations. So we have also included Ørsted as the leading professional counterparty in the world today, and we hope that we can really make it in this time schedule.
Good luck then. And we strongly believe that this green transformation is the something what we should reach together. So, Armen, we heard already about some very interesting and surely green projects. That's no doubts about it. And all of them, they have some potential to change the region. So we speak about the Orlen Group as a biggest player on the region. Hando mentioned that we need a patient. So 2 questions: do we have that patient in Orlen? That's the first thing. And the second, where do you find the potential field of cooperation?
Well, since we attach utmost importance to our green strategy and to the goal of achieving climate or carbon neutrality up to 2050, which has been mentioned before, we are very much interested either in the offshore wind projects or in biomethane projects or hydrogen, especially green and clean hydrogen projects. So I'm very happy to hear that our colleagues from Estonia share those interests, and I think we have common views on that. Those matters will be the keys to the energy transition. From our point of view, especially hydrogen is like a secret key to transform the energy sector in relatively mild way. So we are very much interested in cooperation in those fields. I bear in mind the plans to develop the offshore wind farms also in the Estonian market. So I guess it is one of the main fields of possible cooperation between our companies. But we also are very interested in biomethane and hydrogen. So I would like to invite our colleagues to discuss also the issue of hydrogen and possible ways of cooperation in transforming or to implement the hydrogen revolution both in Poland and in Estonia and more widely in our region.
Thank you very much. So we have a very strong voice from Armen and very strong voice from Orlen with the invitation to cooperation and to discussion. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your discussion. And I personally strongly believe that the biggest name in energetic sector are going to be the leaders of the green transformation. And together, all of you sitting here, being in Estonia, can build a better, greener region also for our children. And here to Warsaw, we'll be back in just 30 seconds after the short break.
Calls for reliable fuel to keep you safe on a long trip. Our journey begins with sea. Every year, about 100 tankers with crude oil enter Budingay terminal to continue the crude journey in the only refinery of the Baltic states. Spread in Maciej district across more than 1,000 hectares, the refinery processes up to 10 million tons of crude oil a year. Modern technologies, a set of tools enabling achievement of advanced energy efficiency, performance, and environmental indicators, as well as solutions that allow us to maintain a competitive edge. All of this with one goal in mind, to ensure the highest quality of our products. Our history began more than 40 years ago, and we know what we are doing and how. We have chosen the right direction to keep the process moving forward by calculating and aligning its steps with micron precision and thus maintaining the maximum quality level. More than 250 tests and measurements are performed in our Quality Analysis Center. It constitutes the basis for ensuring our business prospects and maximum progress. And the power of progress rests in the hands of people, resolute, smart, and intelligent people. An ambitious team with creative ability and safe as well as responsible approach. The continuous path towards progress is the path that unites us. We do know the impact of our performance on the national economy and understand our vital importance to the national sectors of road transport, aviation, maritime, road infrastructure, and manufacturing industry. The largest national taxpayer and one of the revenue leaders, a major contributor to job creation, and one of the top exporters. We are the enterprise of strategic importance to national energy security, as well as energy security of the entire region. A trusted companion for those pursuing their chosen goals in a journey fueled by ambition. Any path toward a chosen goal calls for determination. Determination to keep you on track in a journey fueled by ambition. Any long journey to cover a high number of miles calls for reliable fuel to keep you safe on a long trip. Our journey begins with sea. Every year, about 100 tankers with crude oil enter Budingay terminal to continue the crude journey in the only refinery of the Baltic states. Spread in Maciej district across more than 1,000 hectares, the refinery processes up to 10 million tons of crude oil a year. Modern technologies, a set of tools enabling achievement of advanced energy efficiency, performance, and environmental indicators, as well as solutions that allow us to maintain a competitive edge. All of this with one goal in mind, to ensure the highest quality of our products. Our history began more than 40 years ago, and we know what we are doing and how. We have chosen the right direction to keep the process moving forward by calculating and aligning its steps with micron precision and thus maintaining the maximum quality level. More than 250 tests and measurements are performed in our Quality Analysis Center. It constitutes the basis for ensuring our business prospects and maximum progress. And the power of progress rests in the hands of people, resolute, smart, and intelligent people. An ambitious team with creative ability and safe as well as responsible approach. The continuous path towards progress is the path that unites us. We do know the impact of our performance on the national economy and understand our vital importance to the national sectors of road transport, aviation, maritime, road infrastructure, and manufacturing industry. The largest national taxpayer and one of the revenue leaders, a major contributor to job creation, and one of the top exporters. We are the enterprise of strategic importance to national energy security, as well as energy security of the entire region. A trusted companion for those pursuing their chosen goals in a journey fueled by ambition.
Hello and welcome back. So, can investment in, let's say, green industry can be profitable? I would like to invite you to the third panel, eco-investment and the green transformation, where you will have the opportunity to hear some big fish from the industry. The panel is sponsored by Enterprise Estonia and hosted by Daniel Bayer. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Okay, so we have Estonia and we have Poland, but also in terms of the global map, it seems in an energy business there's a new country. And I've heard that the Bitcoin is also consuming as much power as a country per se. So it means that the data and the data mining, not only the coal mining, is very important and becomes more and more important. So I would like to ask a question to David from Columbus Energy, so one of the biggest Polish renewable energy companies. How important the data is in running your business?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Daniel, for this question. Generally, in Columbus, we believe that the data which can be tracked, especially in energy industry, is very important because you don't know at the moment if you produce energy, if you are the prosumer, if you put the energy into the grid, into the system, you don't really know what is going on with this energy, where it flows, where it goes, who is consuming the energy in the same time when you are producing it. When you start to track the energy, when you put all of these smart meters into whole country, in the whole Europe, you will be sure that, for example, your energy which you produce, your neighbor will consume, and you can, let's say, invoice him and ask him to pay it for you, for example. Of course, the system is more complicated. There is a lot of energy nodes. There is a lot of data which you have to put in the same place. As I know that, for example, in Estonia, because we have on the summit with Estonian, in Estonia, I think from 10 or more years, they are collecting the whole data from the grid, from the system, and they have a lot of knowledge, and I hope they will give us a little bit of this know-how, how can we use it in big country as Poland is. What we do in Columbus is that we started to think about the electricity as an air. So you can put it into the system, to the grid, and use it whatever you like. It is very complicated to do it and to calculate it and to invoice everyone in the system, because I hope there's going to be millions of the smart meters that you have to connect in the same system. But the data, I think, is crucial to have the information, how should we proceed, and how should we invest in the storage systems, in the photovoltaics, in the wind, in the different places in the Poland and in the Europe. So I hope the big energy companies, the utility scale companies, also run by government, will share the information with us and how it goes in, for example, in Estonia, and we can build a very solid and great system, and to invest in these nodes in the system where it should be invest. So this is my humble opinion about that.
So this is the data, and the question is that comes from the green energy, and the question is how we can use this data to be more green and renewable. This question I would like to ask to somebody who's got extensive experience in data analytics. Łukasz from Bolt, can you please share your experiences at the Bolt about data analytics, but how to use the data to be more green?
Thank you so much for this question. At the end, whenever we are thinking about data, it's about data is enabler. And enabler to what? Is to for making smarter decisions. When you look at Bolt, we are all about the data. So like every day, this is all we do in terms of like getting a lot of information from a lot of mobile devices of the people who are the part of the platform, and based on this analytics, providing them the opportunity to have the most affordable rides when we speak about our ride-hailing services, but also having the most available food delivery, or even as of now, also the car rental system that we have that we just launched in Estonia. So when you think about data again, it's about how we are using it to make smarter decisions that are at the end directly involving the value that you as the company can create for your customers. So for us, like I said, it's the most affordable service in the industries that we are operating.
And also what is happening at the moment is that the cities use absolutely a lot of energy. So can you share a bit more insights in terms of the smart solutions for the cities that Bolt is offering at the moment?
One of the most critical things, one of the most, the biggest priorities for Bolt is sustainability, but not only from the perspective of our service, but also from the perspective of the value that we as company, as entrepreneurs, can create for the cities and countries where we are operating. So something what we started is the data sharing with cities. So whenever we are operating in any city where our electric scooters are present or ride-hailing is present, we are committed and we are actually doing the data sharing on the regular basis to support those cities to build more useful and user-friendly infrastructure from the perspective, for example, of understanding of the main transit areas or like main pickup points where people are gathering, but also about the consumption, because we are as a barometer of the society in terms of the mobility. So we are providing the insight on how the people are moving and what is the intensity of that movement. And this, at the end, again, coming back to your first question, is about enabling the right decisions. But in this case, those decisions can be taken by the cities and the countries where we as Bolt are operating and to which we are committed to support.
Bolt is a global unicorn, and the unicorn is a company that is valued at more than $1 billion. And we have a guest from Poznań that is on the hunt for the next unicorns in the area of green and in an area of energy. How data, when you're targeting energy sector, is important in making an investment decision? Bartek Gola from SpeedUp.
Thanks for the question. Thanks for having me. You have to understand two aspects of that question. First of all, we use a lot of data to choose wisely the companies we invest in. But this is something that has been done for dozens of years. All investors has tried to be as reasonable as possible, Maybe in the moment we can collect more data and analyze them in a quicker way. But what is really changing the industry is that the amount of data that is now available in energy sector. And as probably you know, my pedigree, I come from classical, let's call it classical internet business. And in this business, the digital transformation of physical assets has been done 5, 6, 7 years ago. So in energy sector, what I find fascinating is that despite from the fact that we are trying to produce energy from new sources, resources, which we try to implement more renewable energy, which is necessity right now, there is also digital transformation happening because there is more and more data that are available for the energy sector. And I think probably I will surprise you, but I think the biggest change in energy in upcoming years will not be renewables because it's done. It's just a question of time. But the biggest change will come from the amount of data that gathered and can be analyzed. We have just made an investment in an Estonian company called Hepta. They do a grid analysis, electrical grid analysis. And when we started to talk to them, we found that 95% of current grid analysis in energy sector is done like it's been done 50 or 60 years ago, by foot, by helicopter, but it's still, I would use the word medieval. So I think the technologies available in other sectors, they just need to be implemented, and it will create a huge change on the whole market in terms of effectiveness of utility companies and the better quality service for final users.
So sometimes when you are in Estonia or you deal with Estonian companies here in Poland, you think that Estonia is the country where you live the future now. So something which might happen technologically in the future, it's already there and people are living this. So I would like to ask Priit from Sunly, how is it living in the future now? And the second question would be, what will be the future for the Estonia in terms of renewable energy?
Thank you for the question. I think it's not really different that it is at the moment in Poland. So we have gathered a lot of data. So as mentioned before as well, so 10 years we have gathered information. It's now also possible to test it. So Estonia is a very nice place to test your, basically it's a very good place to test your products in electricity. So if you are consumer related, so test servers are available. And I really like how Estonia is gathering the information and how it's also put it out publicly to everyone to use. So also all the Polish startups that would like to test their products, Estonia is a very good place to do it. Concerning everything else, I think at the moment Poland has bigger goals in renewables than Estonia has. We have same issues. Our CO2 footprint is very big, and we try to change it. We are a small country, also area-wise. There are many challenges towards the, let's say, going renewables. But how I see it, whoever, let's say, in Estonia or Poland or let's say all over the world solves the issue how to make the consumers to prosumers, they will be the next big energy companies in future. And definitely this one will change that. The big power plants, they will go out. And what will come is that everyone will be a producer as well at the same time as they consume. And there will be a lot of possibilities for startups. The electrification of the markets, it's basically renewables has to fill in the gaps of coal and gas and also deliver the growth for the electricity demand in the future. So for me, I think there is a lot of possibilities for the startups in the future.
And yeah, in Estonia, the difference is that the data is there. So please come and I can help you out, and I will put you in contact with the right people, and you can sign the papers and you can test your products.
So we have renewable energy, we have data. The question, which is the subject of this panel, is how to make these green projects into money for the customers. My question is to David from Columbus. Do you have any ideas?
I think we've been doing it for the last years, but the real answer is that okay, today the green deals, the green economy is not greenwashing anymore. I think that everyone would like to live in the friendly world where it's not much smog as in Krakow, where I live. And everyone would like to hear the silence on the street when the electrical cars are running, like in Amsterdam, for example, and where more people are riding bikes than the cars. And of course, there is the whole targets which we have to obtain when we think about the 2040-50. It really doesn't matter when exactly, but we have to be neutral. Okay, the carbon footprint has to be limited in everywhere. And I think the customers, the businessmen, the governments realized that the real value is not only in economy, but it is our lifestyle. It is new world is coming. And greenwashing stops when the green economy start to be real. I think today or yesterday we had the more than 50 euros traded on the CO2 for 1 ton. It is extremely high. And the expert says that within 10 years we'll have around 100 euro. It is twice more than the electricity on the auctions in Poland when you think about wind or PV farms. So economy has come, and nothing can change it. And we have to think at the moment not only how to earn the money on it, but how to deliver the real value and the money on it. So we think we have this philosophy not only in Columbus, but I think a lot of people, I think everyone here in this panel, see that it's not only the money, but the real issue is delivering the real value, which is better lifestyle for everyone.
So we have a connection in between investment, and we have a connection in between Poland and Estonia. And Bartek, you're making these connections at the moment on a daily basis because you're on the hunt for the new unicorns in Estonia, but also in Poland. And you're bringing the Estonian ideas into Poland as well. Can you please say how to connect the approach that is already there in Estonia and make it live and make joint projects in between Poland and Estonia?
I think it's relatively easy to make it. It's not easy for us to invest in Estonia because the Estonian companies are so great that many of them can choose the investors, or they have no problem in money raising. So what I like about Estonia, and of course this is something obvious but needs to be said once more, that Estonia is a relatively small country. Surely it's smaller than Poland. So the Estonian entrepreneurs from day one, they think internationally because their local market is too small. Poland is relatively bigger. Of course, it's still small in comparison with the world, with Europe, or with the markets that are in mind of Estonian entrepreneurs. So what we like about Estonian companies is that they are global, and we are searching for global companies. Of course, we may help them if they want to enter Polish market. It is feasible, but we never invest in the company. We would never invest in the company who says, I'm doing now Estonia and I just want to do Poland. So Poland can be a part of the internationalization process, but it cannot be the end point. So yes, I think this is still a major issue or difference between Estonian and Polish entrepreneurs, is that necessity, that hunger of being global from the day one. And I think there are many bridges. And of course, probably for Estonian friends, you don't know how much we admire your startup ecosystem and the number of unicorns you have created or you keep creating over years. So I think it's not a problem. So I think it's relatively easy. And I do hope that meetings like that will also show our Estonian friends that this is a good place to raise money. This is a good place to find a partner to scale your business globally. Especially one that needs to be said, and one of my colleagues said that few sentences ago, but still, Poland will go through huge green energy transition, and it will create a lot of possibilities because, with energy transitions, it's fantastic. As you said, it's a new way of life, and it's something that we want to see. But from the energy sector point of view, we all realize that it creates some issues that needs to be solved. For instance, instability, for instance, energy storaging and stuff like that. And it can be done only by startups because they are the only one on this market who can quickly and enough adapt new technologies that must be implemented if you want to solve those issues. So, yes, thank you.
The question is also that we are, as entrepreneurs, and we as a people can make a very small changes. So I would like to ask also Łukasz, is there is anything in a bold company, like a very small little details that you try to adopt in order to be more green? And any solutions that you have that are implementing these changes, like step by step?
I think that there are two elements that we can mention. Element number one is related to something what every entrepreneur should do, every business leader should do. So first, we are offsetting our operation in terms of the carbon neutrality, and we took already that accountability like 3 years ago, and doing that successfully. Second thing, what we are doing is about finding the possibility to decrease the CO2 emission from our operations, including, for example, launching our own electric scooters or e-bikes that are very efficient for the environment. And the third element is related to the way we are managing even our offices, where our office is completely offsetted in terms of the possible CO2 emission, or we are using our renewable energy that is most likely produced by our friends, also from this panel. And that is like one element. And the second element is about like day-to-day decisions. When you are coming from the startup environment, which is a little bit underfunded when you think about our markets, then you have to be smart about the way you are making decisions. And this is what we do at Bolt. So like how we can compete on the market, it's all about making the smart decisions that decrease the cost, decrease the impact of our operations. And thanks to that, we are also more environmental friendly for our users of the platform.
So from ideas to information, from information to data, and from data to energy. Thank you very much for this panel, and I will give the floor to Artur.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much, guys. And right now, I'd like to invite you for a 30-second break.
Steady through the highs and lows, closer than your skin and bones. I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you. Shining in your darkest night, holding your heart in mine. I'll be here for you. Steady through the highs and lows, closer than your skin and bones. I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you. Shining in your darkest night, holding your heart in mine. I'll be here for you. Steady through the highs and lows, closer than your skin and bones. I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you. Shining in your darkest night, holding your heart in mine. I'll be here for you. Steady through the highs and lows, closer than your skin and bones. I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you. Shining in your darkest night, holding your heart in mine. I'll be here for you.
Welcome back, and now let's move to the last panel. As probably you're aware, the majority of the changes in the present world are caused by startups, visionaries who are turning their passion into business. On stage, Alexander Pawlak is going to talk to them. Alexander is CEO of Tavex, leader in the region of money transfer, Estonian roots and strong presence in Poland. Panel is empowered by Thompson & Stein, a law firm with offices in Warsaw and Tallinn, which provides legal, accounting, and corporate services for Polish and Estonian entities. Alexander, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here to moderate the panel about startups that are really changing the world. Thank you for a great introduction. As said, my name is Alexander. I'm country manager for Tavex in Poland. And today I have pleasure to talk to 4 great people from 4 great startups. So to begin with, it's Klaudia Olczyk from Ecoway Supply. Hello.
Hello.
Gaspar Anton from Ivy Technologies.
Hi.
Margus Cachna from Team Better.
Good afternoon.
And Lech Kaniuk from Sunroof.
Hello.
So first, I would like you to present your companies to everyone who is watching us, to say in 1 minute what change you're delivering to the world, what great things you're doing. So maybe let's start with Klaudia.
Okay, so I'm Klaudia and I'm from Ecoway Supply. We are a distributor of disposable ecological packaging in Poland. We, in our offer, have food containers made from sugarcane, for example. They are made from residues from sugarcane. It's a bagasse. We also have PLA products. It's made from flour corn, for example. And these products, every products, are biodegradable and or compostable. Biodegradable products decompose within 90 days, compostable products, and biodegradable products within 180 days. For example, PLA is bio, and it's totally look like plastic. It's transparent, completely transparent, for example. We also, in our offer, have other products like avocado cutlery, for example, or wooden cutlery, straws made of straw, or products like plates made from waste of apples.
So sounds we are ready for the grill season this summer, and we definitely can have less guilt when we are doing it. So now, Gaspar, can you tell a little bit what your company is doing?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, Kaspar from Ivy Technologies, and we are enabling the digital transformation of the road infrastructure, and therefore reducing the cost of the infrastructure upkeep, increasing the quality of driving experience and safety for each road user. We are increasing the quality of the light traffic road networks, and we are preparing the road network to unleash the power of unmanned driving solutions like autonomous vehicles. We are doing all this by utilizing our AI-powered geospatial mapping platform that is being applied for entire cities and entire countries to show the analytical power that the 3D mapping can bring. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sounds really amazing. And now, Margus, tell us a little bit about timber business.
Yeah, I'm from Timbeter, and Timbeter is doing the revolution in timber business all over the world. And I think that a few people only knows in the world that till now the cut timber in the forest and in storages, they are measured by hand, actually like a few hundred years ago. But there is a great problem to get the data, to get actually information how much timber is cut, where, and where it's moving. And it's as well the question about the private companies, the big, large companies, and also for governments. So Timbeter has developed the artificial intelligence-based solution that you can download the application, make a photo, and you will get all the information in the forest and also in the storage. How much wood, how much timber, what is the volume, how many pieces, and where it to move. So we make the real revolution on that field. And our goal is to become the global standard. So we are working with that and also together with the Polish State Forest, as our president mentioned in the beginning of this session.
That's another great story, this time from the forest. And now the last panelist for now, Lech from Sunroof. Can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. So Sunroof is doing a building integrated solar roof. It's a roof which has a PV capacity building integrated. So it's a two-in-one solution. So you don't have to build first a roof and then put a solar cell on top of that. But it's built into the roof, and that causes that we use less materials in the building. So that is very good from a CO2 footprint perspective, which is also a very kind of hot topic in terms of reducing the CO2 footprint, also in terms of construction. And our roofs have the capacity to actually produce more energy than the house needs for everything it needs, for heating, cooling, and all of the electrical appliances, even sometimes more than an electrical vehicle that you have. And since this produces more energy, what we also want to do on top of the roofs as just the infrastructure, we're delivering the whole system to manage the energy and connecting all of those different roofs into one so-called virtual power plant. So basically, with every roof we built and every roof we connect into this network, we are becoming a distributed energy, distributed power plant. So instead of producing energy in one place and delivering that over the electrical grids, we can produce energy in many places and then shift it shorter distances in between buildings. So that's what we do.
That sounds like definitely a solution for better energetic safety for all the countries. But from my personal consumer perspective, I see that ecological solutions often require some investment, some effort from both, either it's companies' investments or state investments or customers' investments. They require more money or more effort to implement than regular, let's say, not ecological solutions. So how, from your perspective, from your business's perspective, is the market ready for this additional effort, for this additional euros spent to get better solutions?
So I think it's actually not always the case that you have to pay more to be living a sustainable life and be eco. I think that with our solution and many other solutions, I think the new time has come where we can show that you can live a life without compromising, without having to pay more, without having to compromise on price, on practicality, on design. So building integrated is much nicer looking than a roof, and then on top of the roof you have a PV installation. But look also at the electrical vehicles that are coming out to the market. They are no longer boring, very expensive, and have low range and are not practical. They are beautiful, they're practical and fun. So I think we are actually at we have reached a point where it doesn't have to be more expensive and you have to engage more. Of course, these products are often more expensive to purchase today, but over the lifetime, they pay off themselves. What we are doing to accelerate even further, not only showing that the roof pays off itself within 5 years, so it's a no-brainer. Why should you buy a roof which is dead, like inactive, right? But to even accelerate more, we're working with investors and banks to have loans, but we're also working on giving a solution where you can get a sunroof for €1, and the roof is paying off itself because it produces the energy which is worth. So we can take it, we can trade it, and with that energy it pays off itself. So we actually have our first roof for €1 starting to be sold to municipalities, to cities. This is easier for us to handle, but hopefully this latest next year we'll have it for consumers as well.
So I guess I need to sell my apartment, buy a house, and get a roof from you. So now maybe from state perspective, we'll have two guests definitely having good state perspective about ecological solutions.
Yeah, actually, we have always the same question as you ask as well. How much does it cost? But Timbeter actually brings the return on investment about like 15 times. Actually, you're saving money. You're saving as well time. Instead of 45 minutes of hand measuring one container, you're spending 1 minute, even less maybe. You're collecting data as well. And on the state level as well, what we see is that now the green turn is a global, actually, and the timber is actually the resource with everybody is valuing. But the problem is that we don't know actually how much timber we are cutting. In Africa, Central Africa, in Amazon, about like 90% of timber, we don't know exactly how they're cutting. So on governmental level as well, on the international organizational level, we have a great interest to make this change. But what we have witnessed as well is not the pricing, because it's cost efficient, but the question about the guts of making decisions, because we are bringing a total transparency from the cutting the trees, all the chain up to the final customers. So that's always the question about the political decisions to make this change, because it has been a hidden business for decades. And what we see as well in Poland, Polish state forest owning actually most of the forest in Poland. And they are ready to do this kind of changes, because we have run as well during last year of the pilot with them. They're very hard with us, but together with Boston University of Life Sciences, there is a scientific proof as well that the Timbeter solution fits in very well. And now there is a time for making decisions, and my past is as well connected to political life. I resigned 3 years ago from the Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister position, and I was as well a part of this Estonian digital story. We had to make decisions, because normally people are not asking for these decisions during the elections. And now I see as well that the global trend is to digitalize the forestry sector, because there is a great need for that. From the private sector, we are acting now in 61 different countries. We have more than 60,000 users, and it's booming. So we just have jumped in with a very genius solution, and now on the different level, cost efficiency on the private level as well, they have to prove, the big companies, they have to prove to the governments that they are using this timber in the proper way. And the governments as well, because they have to prove their people that they're using these timber resources in the proper way. So it's good to be here in this panel to explain this as well. Thank you.
It's really great to hear that governments seem to be ready for ecological smart solutions. Kaspar, can you say the same about investments in infrastructure? Is your solution implemented, let's say, easily, or at least with some eager to do it?
Yeah, I actually totally agree with previous panelists that it doesn't have to be more costly to build up ecological solutions. The benefits can come from scaling much wider areas or thinking instead of a day, thinking 3 years ahead and showing how this solution can really benefit when it goes into massive amounts. Same with the digitalization of the road network, that today solutions, instead of scanning or verifying this 1 kilometer at a time, we target the entire country. So in Poland, it's like 500,000 or more kilometers to be targeted. And when you do it like this, then it actually, you bring down the cost structure so much, so heavily that you really have the ecological benefits together with the pricing in terms of competition. But I think what is really important here is that these ecological benefits, these mindsets that the founder has to build up inside the fundamentals of his startup. And so the entire team works for these ecological goals, instead of thinking that we have to be better than our competitors or bring better pricing or whatever. But it's more like building these unifying goals for the whole team, and that's where the focus and the strength starts to bring, and then that's how the efficiency and this motivation of the startup is really growing. So.
Like really impressive enthusiasm where you're talking about it. I'm really so impressed about it. Now, Claudia, I believe most of your customers are actually restaurants, hotels maybe, and are they and their customers ready to be served on ecological way, on ecological plates and so on?
Yes. First of all, as of July, the UE directive comes into force, prohibiting single-use plastic placing on the market. So so plastic will be banned, and restaurants and any other cafes or someone won't use them. But it's the first. But secondly, we are pure ecological, and people are more interested in cooperate with us, and they are they see how it looks. We are. We have competitions also, but they aren't purely ecological like us, and we win in this way, for sure.
Okay, it's really, really great to hear that we are ready for those solutions. So we spoke about what you're doing right now. We spoke about how market looks right now from your perspective. So maybe let's speak a little bit how you see your business, the market in the future. I don't know, 5-year perspective, 10-year perspective. What are your business dreams? What would you like to say on next panel that really happened and that you're so proud about? So proud of. I don't know who wants to take first this question.
I have this vision. I can start already. That's the reason why I actually resigned from the very high positions from politics to change the world as well, on the timber world, I can say as well. Our goal is to reach on that level that the digitization of forestry will reach as far as timber as our solution is like the global standard. And we are now the biggest round timber database in the world anyways. We have more than 1 million official measurements. And we're working with the governments on a different areas like Costa Rica, Georgia, Norway, hopefully here in Poland. We're starting project in Kenya. So we're going globally, all different aspects as well. We have done already a lot on the private sector, and this private sector is moving very quickly. And the good thing is as well that the private and the public sector is working together, because there is a great pressure from the societies actually to value the resources as timber is, as a forest is. And we see as well that the different countries and also international organizations, they have guts to make these kind of decisions. And even we see as well that after the change of US president, now the special representative John Kerry has signed again this Green Deal all over the world. Even China, even Russia has jumped in. So I think that we are very optimistic within the next 5 years to see how the digitalization of the forestry sector will boom, and we are already jumped into this. So after 5 years, we hopefully are the unicorn.
I really hope you will remember me and speak with me when you're already unicorn and
Absolutely.
doing interviews everywhere in the world.
We're going to buy lots of gold.
Oh, smart move. Very smart move. Absolutely. Okay, so.
Okay, so yeah, so I think like today Sunroof is growing really, really fast. We have grown from Sweden to Poland, Germany, Switzerland. We're selling roofs in Italy and Spain. We're planning a launch in United States later this year. I think till 2025 we'll be the market leader in terms of building integrated roofs, especially for residential. We'll operate in most big continents, and I think it will take us another 5 years. So in this decade, we should be the largest virtual power plant operating internationally. So that's what we are aiming for, and looking at, for example, Germany taking decisions on a political level right now that every new roof has to have a PV installation. And when it doesn't make sense, both from a design perspective, but also cost and CO2 footprint perspective, to first build a roof and then put something on top, but do a building integrated, I think that we will, sunroofs will be on most new roofs coming in Europe, if or all countries that are coming with this. But if I can dream and have one of those really big dreams, and let's take it in this decade, yeah, I would really enjoy to buy out the solar roof business that Tesla has and take it over.
I'm keeping fingers crossed. You should too as well. Okay, maybe Claudia now.
Okay, so we would like to come back, for example, to glass packaging in restaurants because it's better option, of course. It's they can use them again for sure, and we would like to use biodegradable packaging in other sectors. For example, in shops, they can use paper bags, not plastic bags. So it would be the best for us. So.
Actually, we should meet after the panel, because I must say that at the moment, gold coins are packed in plastic capsules. Maybe we should change that. That would be a very smart move, I must say. Okay, so Kaspar?
Yeah, if not to jump right away into decades, but that I think the 3-5 years, 10 years, our IV main mission is to make the road infrastructure management sustainable. And today it actually isn't. That the enormous budgets are pouring into the concrete of the road infrastructure, and while the condition and the overall quality is actually going down at the same time. So it's like, where does it end up? And I really think that the enabling the analytical power of the digital data sets will help to prevent the road damages before they happen, and therefore you can reduce enormous amount of the roadworks. You can improve the quality. You can reduce the pollution that all these heavy vehicles are bringing when they operate. So this is really our mission, and we don't share that mission alone. That our clients that we target are having exactly the same mission, that they bringing their analytical power and being the trusted partner for the end customer of the government and the state sector. So we together formulate this goal that let's make the road infrastructure management sustainable. But yeah, thinking a bit. Few decades on the goal, let the mind kind of flow. Then I think the idea is that quite huge benefits will start rising once you can monitor the full infrastructure from the drone, and not only on the ground, but also look inside the earth itself to understand what is happening and where you need to improve. And then while doing this, I think you mentioned Tesla. That's cool. That the first idea is that the Teslas will start mapping at first place. No, probably Elon is already think something similar, but I will apply Ivy platform on top, so he can really have a quick impact. And then once he starts building his extraterrestrial city on Mars, then you need to scan them quite heavily the full scale of Mars to understand how to build the most beneficial. So I will be there as well. So.
I must say it's really impressive to compare that. In previous panels we had these biggest companies like Orlen doing political big changes in how we get our electricity and so on, and on the other hand also from the bottom to the up we are going from those small companies that are right now small but sooner will be bigger than Tesla, hopefully. They are also doing the impact, and I believe it's very, very important to get to know those solutions, to also start using them in everyday life. Is there maybe something you would like to say, like the last few words to people who are watching us, why they should really track ecological startup world and why it can really make an impact, even though it's much smaller than changing big coal plant to windmills, right?
So from my perspective, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so this is not my first business, and I have to say that this is the first time I really love what I'm doing, because not only is it a challenge and you get a lot of fun from developing another business, but you get this extra dimension when you know that every sale you do and the more success you have, the bigger impact you have on the environment. And I see that like the 100 people we've recruited the last 6 months, they are all joining into this because they also feel that makes sense to do that impact. And I think that's very, very fulfilling. And what more is that we are in an area that there's so many things changing, and there will be so many opportunities. So I think that you should just take a go and try to figure out things on the way, because there will be so many opportunities, and I promise it will be very fulfilling to try to solve those things.
I would like to mention as well this maybe the change of the attitude of the common people, normal people who are maybe hearing the news that there is somewhere the Green Deal and the change of the energy and so on. And if they hear me as well, that I'm talking about the forestry, and I'm talking about that some areas, maybe 90% of the forestry or timber which is cut, actually we don't know anything about it. And it means as well that we actually bring transparency. And the question is that transparency is actually in interest of average people. All the forest belongs to us, actually, our next generation. And we are not taking out taxes. We are not taking out actually all the value what we have actually in this sector. And it's my goal as well to ask people that think more about this, what resources we have and how can we use them.
Yeah, I would continue from here that I would say that one fundamental truth that I'm always guided by is that the only way to grow is to start growing yourself. So if you want to change something, you start changing yourself, how you are impacting the economy, how you are doing your everyday activities, how you are improving your abilities, how you are learning, how you are communicating to everyone else. And then when everybody starts to think that the only way to change, to grow, is to first start to grow yourself, then what will happen that we will start growing all together, and then the impact will be carried to the next one and the next one. And then this positive emotion is what's already driving our future impact. So I'm really proud that to see where the world is headed in the next decade.
Okay, and me in just 2 sentences. The Earth is only one, so we ought to take care of it, and we should be a part of solution, not a problem, for sure.
So I believe, summing up, it's moves to better better environment, a summary of these big steps and all those smaller steps, and they all together will give us those great steps to go to a better future. So I believe right now I will pass the floor to Artur.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, panelists, for for such a great speeches and presentation. With such visionaries, we can be sure that our world is in safe hands. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. As you see, our young chamber has great ideas and a big support. If you are Estonian and interested in doing business in Poland, or Polish interested in Estonian market, you should definitely become our member. This was our first conference. This was our first event, but stay tuned for the next ones. Thank you very much.